Blake Lively believed she could take down Justin Baldoni with a single lawsuit, but now everything is backfiring spectacularly on her. And who is making it all collapse? Her own documents filed in court. That's right. Her legal team basically handed Baldoni a massive advantage on a silver platter. Instead of strengthening her position, she might have just shown that she has no real case at all. Let me break it down for you. Lively is suing Baldoni and Wayfarer Studios over allegations of harassment. Here's the catch. The judge has two straightforward ways to dismiss the entire lawsuit, and either one would make Blake appear dishonest and unreliable. First option, throw it out because California law simply doesn't apply here. She tried to rely on a statute called FEHA, but she overlooked one critical detail. You have to demonstrate that the harassment took place in California. She failed to do that. Strike one. Second option, show that she was never actually an employee. And look at this. Justin's side brought all the evidence: emails, contracts, witness statements. Blake managed the movie through her own company, Blake Incorporated. She set her own schedule and even worked on other projects simultaneously. That doesn't describe an employee. That's a powerful figure pretending to be a victim. It only gets worse from there. She completely ignored responding to several crucial legal arguments. It's as if she surrendered midway. The judge could easily interpret that silence as an admission that her claims are weak, and things keep spiraling downward. Now let's get to the core issue why her case is crumbling, the alleged harassment itself. To be completely honest, it's almost comical. In her complaint, Blake said she faced sexual harassment on set. It sounds grave, until you see the actual incidents she's pointing to. Get ready for this. She claims she felt harassed when producer Jamie Heath showed her a video of his baby's birth. Keep in mind, this is for a film that includes a childbirth scene. She wasn't even watching alone. Justin Baldoni and another female producer viewed the same video and saw nothing wrong with it. Yet Blake suddenly portrays it as something criminal. Then she complains that Heath glanced at her while she was in her trailer. He knocked first, she invited him in, and she even said at the time, "I'm not saying you were trying to cop a look." So why is she now acting like it caused lasting trauma? The most absurd part, she started a discussion about circumcision with Baldoni herself, and now she's calling that conversation inappropriate. Girl, you initiated it. Even her own filings acknowledge that the most serious elements came from her side, not theirs. She told the court outright that the only real problems were the birth video and the trailer incident. Nothing more, no repeated pattern, no continued misconduct. Nothing that remotely meets the legal definition of harassment. Justin's attorneys demolished her claims by highlighting how these moments were minor, immediately addressed, and never happened again. Plus, Blake maintained full control throughout the production. So really, who was harassing whom? Moving on. Since she couldn't substantiate the harassment, what did she do next? She turned to the Reynolds strategy. Start a full-on PR battle. Here's the real story of what went on backstage and in the courtroom. Once Blake saw her lawsuit lacked any real strength, she and Ryan reportedly began a quiet smear campaign against Justin Baldoni. His lawyers claim she spoke negatively about him to her celebrity circle and leaked damaging stories to the media to paint him as toxic. This had nothing to do with seeking justice. It was pure retaliation. And get this. Her own lawsuit attempts to frame the media storm she helped create as some kind of retribution against her. She manufactured the controversy, then played the victim when it turned against her. Classic gaslighting. The defense responded aggressively. They proved she provided no evidence whatsoever that Justin or anyone at Wayfarer made false statements about her. All the information that surfaced was already public, long before the movie finished shooting. How can something be defamatory if it's just resurfacing old, known facts? To make matters worse, her role never changed. Her compensation stayed the same. Her screen time remained intact. She still received that coveted Producers Guild credit. Actually, her duties increased. So where exactly is the retaliation? The reality is she wasn't penalized at all. She achieved everything she wanted: authority, recognition, and publicity. Now that the attention is intense, she wants to switch back to victim mode. Ryan's complete silence speaks volumes as well. He's observing all this unfold, but don't be fooled. His influence is evident throughout the media manipulation. That could end up haunting both of them. Wait, there's more. Blake's lawyers committed one last error that could obliterate the entire case. You'd expect them to fight hard to keep things together at this stage, but instead, they essentially gave up. It could go down as the most foolish decision in this whole legal drama. Here's what happened. Wayfarer and Justin filed a motion for judgment on the pleadings, meaning, Judge, even accepting every word Blake says is true, her case still doesn't hold up legally. The judge agreed to consider it alongside the summary judgment motion. Standard procedure. But Blake's team? They didn't bother responding to the pleadings motion at all. Instead, they pleaded with the judge to ignore it completely and focus only on the summary judgment, as though the fundamental legal flaws would simply vanish. It's comparable to standing trial for theft and telling the judge, ignore the proof, just hear my alibi. It's desperate, it's feeble, and it signals one clear message to the court. She has nothing solid. Even worse, failing to respond allows the judge to treat her non-answer as conceding those points. Legally, that's an open door to dismissing the whole thing, including retaliation claims, FEHA claims, everything. Wayfarer's attorneys highlighted it perfectly. She failed to allege any adverse employment action. She didn't even attempt it, so her claims should be dismissed. At this point, the judge wouldn't even need to address the harassment allegations. He could dispose of the case quietly and cleanly. No trial, no testimony, just a straightforward legal defeat. That's precisely what Blake fears most. But hold on. We're not finished. If Blake truly wanted to safeguard her reputation, filing this lawsuit was the worst possible move, because her own submissions are now damaging her image far more than any gossip column ever could. Starting with the biggest revelation, Blake admits she never signed the contract she's currently suing over. Yes, she's raging about breached terms in an agreement that was never formally executed. How can you violate a contract that doesn't legally exist? You can't. Then there's that PGA credit, the prestigious Producers Guild of America recognition she desperately wanted. She wasn't promised it up front. She wasn't originally hired as a producer, yet she seized control of editing, post-production, and even insisted on reshoots purely to qualify for the title. Once she secured it, she bragged all over Hollywood as if she had directed the film herself. The irony: exercising that level of authority proves she wasn't an employee, which destroys her discrimination claims, because protections under FEHA and Title VII apply only to employees. By demonstrating her dominance, she inadvertently proved she has no valid case. And the claimed damages? She barely defended them. She's seeking compensation for harm to her reputation and losses to her companies, but those entities aren't even named in the lawsuit. The judge might dismiss that argument outright. What's remaining? Just complaints about feeling uneasy on set while she was actually in charge of everything. One final element could seal the fate of her case forever. The harshest possible outcome? The judge dismisses it without ever mentioning Blake Lively by name. No spectacle, no courtroom drama, just a single statement. This court lacks jurisdiction. Done. Finished. Let's dive deeper. Blake based her whole lawsuit on California's FEHA anti-discrimination statute. The issue: she isn't a California resident. Filming didn't occur in California. The supposed incidents didn't happen there. None of the defendants primarily reside or operate in California. Legally, that's extraterritorial overreach. California law cannot regulate events in Georgia, New York, or elsewhere. There must be a genuine link, a nexus, to the state. Blake provided none. Wayfarer's counsel tore her apart on this point, stating plainly that she completely failed to establish any California tie. They're correct. The statute is explicit. FEHA has no application beyond state borders. Therefore, the judge doesn't need to determine who's telling the truth or whether Baldoni wronged her. He can simply rule, wrong venue. This law doesn't reach here. It's the most efficient dismissal possible. No jury required, no sensational headlines, just a swift, devastating conclusion. If that occurs, Blake doesn't merely lose. She emerges looking like her claims were groundless from the start. But it escalates further. Court evidence now suggests this could all be part of a larger, more calculated scheme. Brace yourself. This is where it turns ugly. The lawsuit isn't simply about emotional injury. It increasingly appears as a deliberate strategy by Blake Lively, and indeed Ryan Reynolds, to seize the narrative spotlight and rewrite the history of It Ends With Us. Evidence is mounting fast. Documents reveal Blake didn't limit herself to acting. She rewrote scripts, re-edited footage, and attempted to overhaul the whole production. Why? To gain total control and secure that PGA producer credit. Once obtained, she pushed forward aggressively, requiring revisions, altering timelines, and wielding influence she wasn't formally granted. When resistance arose, she suddenly alleged harassment. Abruptly, everyone became toxic. Justin Baldoni was cast as the bad guy. Ring any bells? This is where Ryan Reynolds enters the picture. While Blake discreetly fed negative stories, Ryan assisted in shaping public perception. Insiders report the bad press targeting Baldoni, and Wayfarer wasn't spontaneous. It was an orchestrated PR attack, not a genuine plea for accountability. And truthfully, Ryan knows media games inside out. Smile for the cameras, strike from the shadows. But this time it boomeranged. Baldoni's team was prepared. They demonstrated Blake voluntarily assumed production oversight, no coercion. She pursued that producer credit relentlessly. Now she's portraying herself as wronged when backlash arrives. It's not courageous or truthful. It's calculated playing of the victim card. And the court isn't buying it. In the ultimate strike, Blake may have committed the cardinal sin in Hollywood. Here's the pivotal twist that could cause her entire lawsuit to collapse like a house of cards. She accused Justin Baldoni and Wayfarer of orchestrating a smear campaign, alleging defamation that ruined her reputation and career. The fatal flaw: she cannot identify even one falsehood, not a single one. Her attorneys couldn't cite any provably false declaration from Baldoni, Wayfarer, or associated parties. Every item she labels defamatory was either already public knowledge or originated from her own statements. She's upset that accurate information gained traction, not that lies were spread. Think about that. This isn't about defending her honor. It's about dictating the storyline. Blake created the situation, then litigated when the public version didn't match her preferred script. It darkens further. She's demanding compensation for emotional suffering, reputational damage, and business losses to entities not included in the suit. Legally absurd. The judge appeared unimpressed. Baldoni's lawyers crushed it, informing the court, Lively fails to specify any demonstrably false statement and provides zero proof of retaliatory intent. Translation: the accusations lack foundation, and evidence supports the opposite. The picture is crystal clear now. This was never a quest for justice. It was a risky power grab to dominate the narrative and exploit the Me Too movement for advantage. Blake never anticipated Justin Baldoni would counter effectively and prevail. The fallout is irreversible and accelerating. In Hollywood's hidden circles, conversations are buzzing. Producers, agents, streaming executives, everyone is monitoring, and the consensus is forming. Blake Lively has torpedoed her own trustworthiness. Ryan Reynolds is sinking alongside her. You won't spot it on their curated social media. No tearful posts or declarations of resilience. But privately, their elite standing is eroding rapidly. Industry sources reveal no one wants to collaborate with individuals who deploy lawsuits as weapons when plans falter. Blake attempted to reframe normal production friction, where conflicts and raised voices are common, into severe harassment. Evidence contradicts her, and the industry has long memories. Ryan's ongoing quietude has only aggravated matters. Numerous reports indicate he actively stoked the negative coverage, leveraging connections to sway outlets against Baldoni. Facts emerged: silence. Major brands are discreetly distancing themselves. Streaming heads are reportedly reconsidering deals with both. The liability is excessive. No one wants to risk becoming the next fabricated scandal target. Toxic now trails them, unrelated to any superhero role. Conversely, Justin Baldoni's standing has never been stronger. Composed, courteous, supported by documentation, the type Hollywood embraces. In an industry built on perception, Blake and Ryan just torched their own. Yet one final element remains, the decisive judicial action that could end everything coldly. The judge holds all necessary information, and the outcome seems evident. Blake Lively's lawsuit isn't merely weakening, it's imploding beneath her own misrepresentations, procedural errors, and ambition-driven maneuvers. The court now has two direct, unforgiving paths to erasure. First, dismiss entirely for lack of jurisdiction. California statutes cannot extend to a project produced elsewhere. The door slams shut without reviewing. Harassment or retaliation merits. Swift, clean, crushing. Second, determine Blake was never an employee. Without that status, the protective laws she invokes are irrelevant. Operating via her company, dictating schedules, forcing changes, juggling other jobs, that's executive behavior, not victimhood. Should the judge select either and prospects appear strong, the lawsuit perishes pre-trial. No jurors, no spotlight, no exoneration, just quiet rejection and lasting professional scar. Hollywood is paying close attention. Studios, advertisers, platforms will recall this. Next time Blake or Ryan proposes a venture, decision-makers will wonder, could we be their next target? What began as vindictive retaliation may ultimately terminate their dominant careers. If you're enjoying this detailed analysis, remember to hit like, subscribe for unfiltered Hollywood insights they don't want public, and boost this video before it gets suppressed. We're delivering it straight, authentic, and unrelenting. Stay tuned. You won't want to miss the next one. This is your host, raw, unapologetic, and locked on the real story. Catch you soon.